I can't be cross with a little fish, although the little fish murdered my son. My son Martyn was due to go on the Wednesday to America, and he was really excited about it. It was a trip of a lifetime. He'd saved up 2 years for this trip. I picked him up on the Sunday to take him to a supermarket to buy 2 months worth of cat food and cat litter, so that his flatmate doesn't have any problems feeding his beloved cat, Emily Bishop. He named her after a Coronation Street character because he was a big Coronation Street fan. So I picked up the cat food and cat litter with him, dropped him off at home because it was so much, helped him carry it upstairs, and then gave him a hug and a kiss, and I said, "See you Wednesday, I'll pick you up at 11 and take you to the airport." And obviously that never happened because on the Monday evening the attack happened. And so that's the day our life changed forever.
22 people killed and 59 injured in a suicide bomb attack at Manchester Arena. The worst incident, say police, the city has ever faced.
Seeing yourself as a victim isn't going to bring him back. And if we start seeing ourselves as victims, then the people who are responsible for Martyn's murder and that of the other people's murder and attempted murder of hundreds of people, they would win, and we're not giving them that. I feel really protective about how we as a family deal with it. I don't want my other children to see themselves as victims. I would like them not as a mother again. I don't want them to feel they need to hate the world because of what happened, and have a reasonably balanced view of how it all came about. I've been trolled on the internet. I think apparently at the vigil I smiled too much, I didn't look like a grieving mother. But on the other hand, what does a grieving mother look like? And how should a grieving mother respond to her child being killed? Well, grieving is very individual. We can either disintegrate, and I'm choosing not to disintegrate. I do my grieving in private. I am absolutely, totally devastated about Martyn's death, obviously. I choose to continue his legacy of positivity. He was a peace-loving person, he was a fun-loving person, he was kind-hearted and generous. He, his boss once described him as an ambassador for positivity. So I'm thinking I can't justify sitting in a corner crying, popping antidepressants. That's just not my style. And I choose to stay strong for my family. I choose to speak out. I choose to continue his legacy of positivity. Again, I have been trolled on the internet because I publicly forgave the guy. I have to say, to be honest, I was never cross with the guy in the first place, because when I very first saw a photograph of him on TV, I looked at his face and thought, "You foolish boy." And that's what he was. He was a boy, he was a kid. And I don't know that much about him, but I do know that he comes from a radicalized family. He didn't have the upbringing my children had. He didn't have a tolerant, all-embracing house he lived in. He was with a family of people with very extreme views. That's not an excuse, it's just an explanation. It is never an excuse. But I cannot be cross with somebody who's been brought up in that kind of environment, and who, I'm sure he walked over that bridge with his little rucksack thinking, "I'm doing the right thing for my cause," and I'm sure he believed it. So I can't be cross with somebody who's been groomed and raised with that kind of purpose. There's a bigger picture here, and that is the, I see him like a little fish in a big pond of lots of other little fish, and I think they keep coming, and we don't know what's behind it, but there's this big monster machine behind it. So therefore I can't be cross with a little fish, although the little fish murdered my son. Oh, that's a difficult one. Well, I would say probably don't do it. Think carefully about what you do, because the fallout from your actions is life-changing for those who are left behind. The word extreme says it all, really. I think people should not be raised in any extreme way, left or right, doesn't matter. I think it's about values such as love, kindness, forgiveness, family, tolerance, openness to others. It's more a more inclusive way of thinking that is important. We need to be more inclusive. We need to sit together and talk more. Different factions need to sit down and talk more. It shouldn't be either, oh, the Muslims did this, or it shouldn't be, we Muslims don't do this. It should be, let's sit down and talk together and understand each other and work together rather than separate each other, because that's what extremists want, that's what terrorists want. They want to cause segregation, they want to cause misunderstanding, chaos, conflict. Let's not give them that. I think the arena, as I said, is one of those venues where everybody from all nations who live in Manchester, we've all been to concerts there. So it's something that belongs to our city and we shouldn't fear it, but yet this awful thing happened. So I think learning has to be taken from it, and rather than segregating, we all need to get together and find solutions together, actually, rather than fearing each other.